So, you all set to enter the Amala network? Alright then. Once I send you, I'll head over to Ginza myself. Until then, stay alive. Well, here goes nothing.
Hey, can you hear me now? Good. Looks like you're still safe. It seems that the link failed and you fell into the Amala network. But the Amala network is exactly that, a network. If there's an entrance, there's always an exit. Just leave it to me. I'll get you out, so head toward Ginza.
And on that note, welcome back to part 4 of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, where today, in an effort to quick travel to Ginza, we got stuck in the network. So now we have a new dungeon, the Amala network. And previously I mentioned before that the Magasuhi in certain areas can straight up be seen. We're walking on it. These red strands, this is the lifeblood of the planet essentially. Which is the easiest way to put it. Like, I know it's a lot more to it than that, but it's the easiest way to explain it every time someone goes into it. Just think of it as like the blood of the planet. But the way this dungeon works, and he'll introduce it to you in 2 stages. There's 2 gimmicks going on here with the Amala network. Firstly is that there's a lot of parts where the path splits and they're shadowed out. And one path is a dead end while the other will move forward. Later on they'll make it so it's a freeway split. So you'll have even more paths to worry about. And like maybe 2 of them will take you elsewhere. But one will take you to like secrets and the other will take you on the main path. The other gimmick that we'll get to after this fight is that at certain points the way forward will be blocked off and you will need to find a connection terminal to get to so you can link it open it. This is what I mean. This is going to get locked off and Hijiri is going to have to open it for us. But in certain points he won't be able to talk to us, so you will need to find connection points so you can get in contact with Hijiri to open the path.
I'm starting to get it. Looks like the Amala network never stays the same shape. Demon or not, you're gonna have a hard time getting around. Well, call me if something else happens. I'll help out any way I can.
And obviously it will start simple and just expand in complication as it goes on. That's the general idea of Amala network though. It's going to be shadow paths and finding the secret rooms to open the path ahead. And it's just as you go forward, they will get slightly more and more elaborate as you're more used to what to expect and whatnot. This dungeon is a one and done area though. When you leave the Amala network, there is no way for you to get back into this dungeon. So when you leave and you're done with everything, make sure you've got everything you want to get from here. Because there is some pretty decent loot. We just picked up a bead, which at this stage in the game is amazing.
Seriously? Again? Hopefully the fix will be as smooth as last time. Hey, can you hear me? Say something. Damn it! The connection's unstable.
And there now is establishing the idea of this dungeon properly. We cannot open this path by our own. We need to find a way to contact Hijiri. But the only way to do that is to find a room with strong enough signal, or a terminal room as I keep on calling it, that you can do so. So that's what you're going to be doing. You're just going to be exploring around. This place is filled to the brim with elements. And the thing with elements is that you can straight up buy them later on. Like, don't feel too stressed out if you can't recruit any of these guys. Because I think the recruitment... I don't actually know if you can recruit anything in the Amala network because you're, like, so close to the Magasuhi. Yeah, he has no intention of joining. Yeah, because they're so close to the Magasuhi. They're so close to the tasty shit in terms of demon talk. They're not gonna go anywhere near it. As you just saw there from Jack Frost, though, Jack Frost just got a free crit and he kept on saying Dark Might. There is Bright Might and Dark Might. They're skills that certain demons can inherit. The way Dark Might works is on new moons, which is what we're currently on, they will get guaranteed criticals on strikes, whilst on Bright Might it's guaranteed criticals on strikes when it's a full moon, like physical attacks. So if it might actually be a strategy if you're struggling, say there's a boss later on that doesn't have much physical resistance, but is really magic resistant, you might want to try and get, say, Bright Might on a demon or two, and then face it at a full moon. In fact, there's a boss later on that's practically... Well, it's not impossible, it's very much possible. It's just far harder than it has any right to be if you don't fight it on a full moon. So if you fight it on a full moon and the gimmick of the fight is unraveled, you might as well bring a demon with Bright Might anyway. But that's not until later on, thank goodness. I've yet to record that bit. Also, you can also tell what I mean, where like none of these save points are actual save cylinders. They're just like this. They're the glyphs on them. They're just floating. And once again, because this is a dungeon, you're locked in until you're finished, and when you're done, you can't return to. To compromise a little bit, there's no fountain of life here. They're just healing rooms, similar to when you started in the medical center. Because they know it'd be a bit unfair if you couldn't afford a heal, and so you had to fight enemies. You could lock yourself in, basically. Although unlikely, it's still a possibility. So to avoid that happening, they just make this what it is. They make it so you can get free heals out of the healing rooms while you're here. And since you can't return anyway, well, it doesn't matter. What you saw me do there is go through a shadow and go back through it. I was getting muddled with a dungeon far, far later in the game, where there are teleport puzzles. Because yes, this game, and it's a pet peeve of mine. Like, it's something that's like everywhere in old school JRPGs. Like Nocturne, I'd class it as an old school JRPG, but it's something that's everywhere, and it's like there's always a dungeon that's teleport mazes, and they're always a nightmare.
Good. Looks like you're in a spot that actually gets reception. Alright, let's do it this way. From now on, if anything happens, let's meet up in stable places like the one you're in right now. Oh, yeah. You're stuck, huh? Just wait a sec. Damn. Looks like communications getting bad here, too. Let's meet up in another stable place. Okay?
But now we've managed to find a contact point for Hijiri. He's opened the path for us. And so we have to find another one later on to open up more paths as it goes on. But as I was saying, Nocturne has a teleport maze, and it will do really dickish stuff like go through a portal and then immediately go back through it and it will take you somewhere else. Like, it's kind of a nightmare. You're going to see me like edit and cut around a lot, but every time I do, I bring up the map, so if you're following along, you can see where I am. It's more so just that it saves me running all the way back. Like, I'll tap the healing room and tap the save while we're here, because you might as well every time you pass. The whole time the healing's free and the save room's right next to it, you don't really have an excuse to not make the most of it. But when you're ready, push on. Something that I could also recommend as well, especially if it's your first playthrough, like, you're not going to see me do it too much, because I know what to expect from this game now, like after doing it a couple times and whatnot. But if it's your first run, don't just have one save. Leave a save just before you came into the network. You have to pick to go in here anyway, so save before you do. So then if you really feel like you're out of luck and really struggling, like things just aren't working the way you want them to, you can load that save, grind up demons, recruit new ones, fuse them into Compendium, and build yourself up a little bit more. Because once you're in here, you're stuck in here. There isn't a Cathedral of Shadows in here, so you can't fuse anything new. What you've got is what you're sticking with for this whole journey, for this whole dungeon. And to be fair, my team setup for this stage isn't bad. Like, there's a couple very powerful skills that will slowly but surely start to become more and more available to us, and I don't end up getting many of them. Like, the biggest one I try and make a beeline to get for on every playthrough is a skill called Fog Breath. And you should too. Fog Breath and War Cry, those two especially, are amazing throughout the entire game. To go back on what I talked about last part, just so you understand why powerful this is, as I said before, the most powerful thing in this game is stat-altering skills. Skills that will make it so enemies' attack, magic attack, defense, or hit and evasion go down by a level, or make it so they go up by a level for you. because you could stack them up to 4, and if you can make it like -4 everything on the enemy and +4 everything for you, that's a drastic difference in battle ability, and you will start really dishing out the pain. In the same vein, if the enemy does it to you, it's pretty much you can kiss your ass goodbye, you're not going to win. But Warcry lowers the enemy's attack and magic attack by 2 stages. Not just 1 like the normal skills, making it that if you can get 2 Warcries off, their attack is the lowest you can make it already. Fog Breath is the same for hit and evasion, it's 2 whole levels. So if you can get Fog Breath and Warcry on members of your party, you can really start tearing into difficult enemies and bosses. Obviously there's a high SP cost on them, so don't spam them in like normal enemies for a dungeon, because you'll soon be shit out of luck and really struggle on the bosses. But use them on the bosses, and use them on encounters that are giving you trouble. Because they will play into your hand, and they will allow you to really turn the tide. Yeah, there are obviously bosses that will counter this. There will be bosses that know Dakadra and Dakunda. And Dakadra and Dakunda are get rid of all nerfs and get rid of all buffs. I think it's the other way around. I think Dakadra is get rid of all buffs, and Dakunda is get rid of all nerfs. And so there will be bosses later on that will have skills like that to undo your work. But even so, it's still, like, more often than not, it's still worth going for, even if they have one of those 2 skills, because you can make them waste a turn then, because they will have to use a turn each time to go, oh, okay, do this. When you get to this area, the south split, don't worry about it for now. Later on, we'll be able to open the last doors that are in this area. Once you do, come back here and then take the south split and then go east. Because there will be a door there that will lead to treasure. And there's a healthy amount of treasure there, so it's worth doing. Also, the only demon of my main 4 here that I've got right now that I'm not too fond of is Datsuba. Like, Datsuba is just not great. It's got good skills and decent resistances as is. But as a whole, you're going to see, once I get the opportunity to fuse it off for anything, I take it. Because it is not great. But the beauty of Pixie and High Pixie is that it has a lot of good starting stats. And so early game, it isn't a bad idea to have High Pixie around. Like, yeah, late game, you're obviously not gonna. Because if you keep any demon around for too long, it's gonna start to run out of effectiveness. There's very, very few demons in the game that are worth keeping around for the long stretch. There'll be one that will be kept around for the long stretch that I plan on getting. And I might mix it up and do different things as we go on, but it's a demon that on my blind playthrough and on my practice run helps carry me throughout most of the game. So for the sake of having backup and having it, I will get it. And if you've played Nocturne before, you probably have a good idea of what demon I'm talking about, because it's kind of like a universal, if you're struggling with this game, pick it up. And it's not too bad to get. You just got to do an optional boss fight later on. But Jack Frost getting Mabufu is kind of nice. Ice group wide. Obviously, it comes with the added risk, as I've said before. But now it's a good... This is where I first change my Magatamas. Because you can see some of these are shaking violently, some of these aren't moving. The ones that aren't moving, come back to, because they're not... If you level up, you're not going to get anything out of it. But this Magatama is going to give us, like, basic nerfing skills, I think it is. Like, it'll give us, like, lower hit evasion, lower attack, lower defense on the enemies. And so I want to have all of them on me until I can get things like Warcry. Because you can get Warcry and Fog Breath. You can get Taunt. Taunt's dangerous. Be very wary if you use Taunt, because Taunt lowers the enemy's defense by 2 stages, but ups their attack by 2. It's like it puts them in like a berserk form. So they will turn them into glass cannons against you. So unless you're very confident you can get away with it, don't do it. Don't use Taunt. Like, I get Taunt a little later on, and I use it a bit to showcase it, but I don't become reliant on it, because the trade-off of it getting like the enemy's getting +2 on attack is ridiculously strong.
It's good to know you're alive. Guess you didn't become a demon for nothing. Couldn't go any further, huh? Wait on it. Oh yeah, there's something you should know. It seems that someone's trying to intercept my communication with you. Might be an enemy. Be careful. Looks like it's getting unsafe. lightsaber here too. We'll talk later.
I'm curious if Hijiri's English voice actor, when it was doing the static things, whether he just said lines normally and they edited it, or they did what what Roger Craig Smith did with Sonic and Sonic Boom, where he literally just did it himself. Like he just did all the bits himself to make it sound authentic. Because actually, that's something I can talk about whilst we're going through here. Because, you know, if you're not used to my channel, I tend to go off on tangents about other topics during gameplay. And right now, it's just going through the maze. It's encounters we've seen before. Oh, I will mention here, though, this is me getting confuddled a little bit. That's the correct way to go. That leads to a save point and stuff that we'll want. I walk in and I go, I don't think I want to be here yet, because I was trying to look for that loot, the loot room I was talking about earlier. And so I deter off from it. But then once I deter off from it, I go on the right path, but there's a trap on the right, if you go on the treasure path, where if you go the wrong way, it will warp you to where we just was. You know, like up those stairs I went up and then went back down. And so you're going to see, I go all the way around, get to that treasure room, go full straight into the trap, and then I'm back there. And I'm like, well, I'm here now, so I might as well save, fight the boss, and then I'll just cut and go back round. Also, Jack Frost is inflicted with Charm. Be very wary of that. Charm can make it turn on allies, can make them heal enemies, or can make them fucking throw money away. Not that it does it that often, thankfully. It's not Confusion. Confusion, they will throw items and money away all the damn time if you let them. Confusion is a nightmare. And it's the same with the Persona titles, to be fair. Confusion is always a nightmare because it's not because you can lose currency permanently. Let it change. Okay, we lost an attack for goddamn begging. This is the start of a trend that's going to continue for a while. Of every time I let a demon change a skill, it fucks me. But I want to talk about something else for a minute whilst we're backtracking through all here because I got myself muddled. Yesterday was, for lack of a better word, the first Sonic Direct. It was called Sonic Central, and it was a 12-minute long showcase of everything Sonic the Hedgehog. And if you've been with the channel for a while, I'm a very disgruntled but very loyal Sonic fan. Like, I love the Sonic series, but I'm not for a second going to pretend it isn't really fucking flawed across the entire field. It hasn't got a lot of holes in it. Like, I was the first person to be like, oh, I love Mania, but fuck Forces. Forces is one of the most boring games I've ever played. Like, during Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the Let's Plays I did... I've talked about it before, I kind of regret those Let's Plays because I did those Let's Plays angry because I loved Sonic the Hedgehog and it was after that very first teaser of the Sonic film. You know the one that got memed by everyone because Sonic's design was hideous. Like, oh, this is me getting caught in the trap, by the way, because I was like, why did the kid want me to go right? Oh, right, this is the trap. You can't go back now. You go through a wall. Like, you're stuck here now. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm here now. But like, I bitched and moaned throughout the whole of the Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 Let's Play because I wanted to play games I loved because I was angry at what was going on with the Sonic film at the time. But I suppose I've always been like a big Sonic fan, but always kind of a disgruntled one to an extent. But the Sonic Central, I know it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but I loved it. There was 12 minutes of like things I wanted to see. Yeah, some of the crossover stuff was a bit like, okay. Like, the orchestra announcement, 110% for. With Crush 40 there as well, bring it on. I am fucking looking forward to it. And it's free to watch? Yes. That's amazing. Sonic the Fighter being in Lost Judgment? Sure, dude. I unapologetically like Sonic the Fighter. I think it's a dumb game, but I enjoy it. So yeah, I'm all for it. Sonic Origin being the widescreen supported... I don't know if it will be the Sage versions or the Christian Whitehead versions, but it will be widescreen support HD versions of Sonic 1, 2, 3, and CD. And they did actually confirm, because in the trailer they showed a standard version of Sonic 3, and they just say from the original content, but they said no, the final version will be the widescreen support, like cleaned up version that 1, 2, and CD are based on. So that's brilliant. I'll finally be able to do Sonic 3, which if you remember in the Sonic 1 and 2 Let's Play, that was the biggest thing I was complaining about, is that in the Mega Drive collection, they didn't have Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I was like, what? It felt wild to me that was still a problem in this time. Like now in 2021, I think it'll be out next year. So in 2022, they finally, or maybe got around it. And I hope it's they can use the original soundtrack and not the copyright-free version, shall we say, that they did for the PC version. I hope it's got the original, because the original ice cap and the original launch base are amazing. And Carnival Night's great too. So I'll be able to do that and, you know, do CD and talk about why I really don't like CD. But that's my thing. But then they teased the next mainline Sonic game, which I've heard like its title got leaked to Sonic Rangers, and they want to make it more of like an open-ended thing. And I'm all for the experimentation as long as they have the time to work on it and it doesn't feel rushed.
The exit is close to where you are. Let me open the. Damn it! Something's interfering. Hey, you okay? Can you hear me?
But I'll continue that topic in a sec, because we've got our boss for the area. A slightly bigger, ghouly, spooky guy, a Spectre. Hey, who are you? You sneak around. You in the way. Blah. You? I know. The Magatsuhi here. You want yourself? You kill me, huh? Yes. I see. I knew it. Me fix problem. Me eat you. And Magatsuhi, too. Me eat you. But come on, that's what the text is. You lots of friends. I got lots of too. Wait, you sound like Jar Jar. I need to stop. The gimmick of this fight is that he makes a bunch of doppelgangers that are much weaker. If you've got group-wide attacks, this fight's not off prep. Like, we've got Berserk, so we can do... Berserk is random and not group-wide. Keep that in mind. So I get rid of Berserk later on for an actual group-wide. Like, I get Heat Wave in a few parts, and that I just immediately drop Berserk. But Berserk's nice to have at this point in the game, because it's extra damage. If it's a single target, you can hit them like 3 times. I mean, you still can if it's a group, it's just less likely because it just picks at random. But because there's 6 foes, they get 6 press turns, assuming they don't miss an attack or have it be blocked. So your best bet with this is lower all their hit and evasion. And obviously make the most of cheeky crits if you go for Mazio. Like that. So you're going to see me kind of push to just constantly lower their hit and evasion. I only lower it by 3 stages. Because I was getting muddled with... I don't even know what I was getting muddled with. I just for some reason got it in my head that you could only lower it by 3 and not 4. Like in SMT 4 it's by 5. And I think in Strange Journey it's by 5 as well. Strange Journey is another one I'd love to let's play at some point. But that one's currently locked to the realms of the DS and 3DS if you're playing the original or Redux. But that's another SMT game. Essentially, like, in this, I hope Nocturne ends up being the opening of a can of worms for getting more, like, classic Atlas titles on current hardware. Just because I'd love to cover a lot of them. But I probably would be a bit hesitant to cover Digital Devil, just because, like, I like Digital Devil 1 for the most part, but I don't love it. And I like Digital Devil 2 for the most part, but I don't love it. And I think that's kind of the thing that's going to make it a bit... But after a few turns, however many Spectres are left, they will merge together to make a big one. And however many are left depends on how strong it is. Where we got 4 left, it's kind of strong, but it's not dangerous. Not enough me, but I still eat you. It immediately misses. But because now it's one entity, it gets the boss press turn ideology, where because it's a boss, it gets 2 instead of 1. And just to be sure, I lower its hit and evasion. Because I don't know if this counts as a separate entity or if it will count the others. So I just lower its hit and evasion as well, just to be on the safe side. But High Pixie is out of NP, so I just have her on attack now. That's all you can do. That's the only kind of like grading side of early game, is where it's you're early on. Your MP takes a while to start getting to decent numbers. And so, like, I see it in an early game, both High Pixie and Jack Frost, where I've had them use, like, stat-altering spells, they just don't have any MP right now. But look at that. That is a beautiful amount of XP. Oh, and I finally deter a little bit, I think. Do I? Do I not? Oh, no, I don't. I wish I make it strength. Because my target is to get a raw 25. For now. By end of game, it'll be raw 30. I want to try and get raw 30 on strength and eventually raw 30 on vitality. Because as I've said before, the last Magatama adds plus 10 to everything. So So 30 should be the cap you're going for, since the 10 will put it to its actual cap of 40 anyway. But I pushed super early to try and get my strength to at least 25, because there is a Magatama that you can only get if you can force open a door, and to do it you need raw 25. Well, you need more than 25, I think, and you actually need 26. But either way, I listened to it and it gives me a float ball. Okay, float ball's kind of nice. A float ball will make it so you're technically not touching the ground. Like you are, and when you're playing it is, but the game on technicality will say you're not. And the reason why that's significant is because there'll be floor hazards in later dungeons, where if you stand on certain parts of the floor, it will hurt you. So you can use a float ball to completely avoid that.
You okay? I see. You're getting used to being a demon, aren't you? I'll open the door. Hang on. If you go through the path I opened, you should reach Ginza safely. You did take a slight detour, but hey, at least you're there. Nice work. Now let's hurry on.
But after this fight, you're done with the Amala network, so all I'm going to be doing now is cussing to pick up the treasure I didn't get from taking that other path. But as I said before, once you leave, you can't come back to this place. So make sure you've got everything you want to do, and have done everything you want to do before you leave and end up in Ginza. And to be fair, Ginza's a safe enough place to go. You'll be introduced to things like the jewellery. When we get there, the jewellers. The jewel shop's quite nice, and it's one of the few shops that you'll find yourself regularly throughout the entire game, because the items you can get there are far more advanced than the normal shops. It's just you need to trade jewels that you find, like jewels, gems, diamonds, you name it, that you find to get them. And so it's a bit of a slower grind, you usually can't get as much. I'm not sure why I kept that encounter in, if I'm honest. I'm trying to work that out. Oh, because it's on the main path, I guess, like, or the new path that I haven't shown before. But you've got to navigate this extra part of the maze as well to even get to the treasure room. And the treasure room will introduce something else as well. That's a bit of a... I'll say that it doesn't really bother me. It's just it always spikes you when you need it the least. Like when it's the most inconvenient to get it. Is that there are trap chests in this game. And I don't mean the trap chest as like Final Fantasy, where it's like a monster in a box, where you like open a treasure chest and there's just an enemy in it. No, I'm talking you will open the chest and it will just explode and do damage to your whole party. I think I keep the element fights in. Oh no, that was because it was so short, I didn't feel the need to edit it out, I guess. I'm going to start editing out more and more encounters as we go on, because certain later areas, like the Amala network, actually has kind of a low encounter rate compared to a lot of areas. But there's a dungeon later on that I've just recorded, and it's like, it genuinely feels like it's every 5 seconds you get into a new fight. So I did a lot of cutting in that one. But once you've opened everything, leave this last cube, or this last cache, because if you open it, it's a trap and it will hurt you. Your whole party will take damage from that. And if I bring it up, look at how much it hurts. So I'm like, okay, it did like 60 damage to everyone, got it. And that's kind of what I mean, that it's just, it wrecks you. But once you've done, it takes you back out here, which is where that's split, so you need to kind of go all the way back round. But that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. So next time on SMT3 Nocturne, we're going to go into Ginza and try and find our way around there. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.